Have you ever had some bad feelings come up? Well, let's examine what Maurice Nicoll had to say about associations and negative eyes. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. I'm here to give you a different perspective on life and maybe help you think about things or feel things or be something a little bit different than you were programmed to be, thereby enriching your life. Well, Maurice Nicoll on March 6, 1952, led a group, and I'm going to quote, "We see a man yesterday, not today. I will explain what this means. We take in nothing new about him because the impression of him always falls on and stimulates the same associations in us. We are not conscious of him, but of our associations with him. We do not see him apart from the associations. We are not aware of him objectively, but of what we subjectively associate with him. So the father sees his son as a little boy, and the mother sees him as a baby in arms. In the same way, the son sees his parents, especially his mother, as they used to be. If he discovers, say, that his mother is not as his associations of her make him think, he may be horrified. He believes, of course, that he thinks of his mother. He does not realize that he does not think it at all, but that his thinking is nothing but a process of mechanical association that is set working in him whenever he sees or is reminded of her. She is never an independent human being outside him, having her own separate existence, nor is he to her. To live only in other people, to feel one's existence only in this way is a weakness that seems responsible for much human error and misery. The physical basis for associations, both desirable and undesirable, both useful and useless, is the brain. We have to struggle against some aspects of the mechanical brain. Now, some people do not see the difference because impressions and associations. An impression comes to us from the outside through an eye or ear chiefly. These associations are with us, recorded. The work teaches on rolls in centers like wax phonograph rolls. When we see a familiar object or one or more rolls containing past records associated with that object, they begin to turn. And that's what's meant by the opening sentence, "We see a man yesterday, not today." It means simply that we see him through associations belonging to the past, and we do not see him now in the present. So we see him yesterday and not today. Today we merely recognize him, but as we merely recognize everything else, we do not see things afresh. For this reason, we cannot take in anything new. We resemble those savages who, seeing a great sailing ship for the first time, took no notice of it, but stared with interest at the little boat putting onto the shore. It was something familiar, something they could take in by association with their own boats. Like ourselves, they could not take anything considerably greater than what they were accustomed to seeing. We do not like anything unfamiliar. For example, we do not like the idea that we are mechanical or asleep or not properly conscious or negative or a cage full of eyes. We have no preformed associations which can take in unfamiliar and offensive ideas of this kind. So we resist them and we resent them. Only by observing ourselves and all that goes on in us in the light of such ideas can we make new recordings on centers through which we can take them in and see the actual truth of them. These recordings are different from ordinary associations. They're made consciously because internal observation of oneself has to be a conscious act. It cannot take place mechanically. Also, the impressions gained from self-observation are not from the outside world through external senses, but from an internal sense given but not used. A silent witness in myself, a spectator of what goes on in me, into which I must put more and more consciousness, more and more of my feeling of I, by withdrawing it tediously and with trouble from where it observes. A gradual concentration of consciousness and feeling of I begins then at this point, which then becomes observing I in a practical sense, as a practical experience. One then has started on a difficult, strange journey to real I, which lies above the observing I. I wish to call attention now to how our emotional states can affect associations in us. You have noticed that when you feel in a pleasant state, you tend to have pleasant associations with a person and smile and beam at him or her. And when you're in an unpleasant state, you get connected up with an unpleasant association. Well, in short, the emotional state alters the arrangement of things. But a powerful negative I cannot merely alter, but damage you. The ordinary swing of the pendulum of emotions, pleasant to unpleasant and back, do not seem to me like negative emotions, which stick often for a long time. Their characteristic, in fact, is that they persist and run by themselves. Now, negative states can be thought of as the opposite of anything that could be called positive art, which craves to transmit meaning from a higher level and so seeks what is from good and what is from truth, and cannot see only the worst in everything. To use a phrase, they transgress the limits of the probable and always in the wrong direction, making for greater falsity, ugliness, distortion, and lying beyond belief and remedy. A negative state only makes what is negative more negative and cannot do otherwise, because it is basically evil in intention, leading down from hatred to violence, cruelty, and murder. It can only transform evilly. Any negative state works on the associations recorded on rolls and centers so as to distort them. If it is not checked grimly, it endeavors to black out anything good recorded in them and to floodlight anything bad. Every negative emotion is therefore the opposite of any positive art, which is to transgress within the limits of the probable and always in the direction of greater perfection and greater meaning. The tremendous power and the number of negative eyes that seek to do us harm by distorting associations and lying must never be treated lightly. You will have to meet them eventually when your Armageddon comes, if it does. They truly are legion, as they themselves defined when Christ asked their name. He said to the evil spirit that was in the man dwelling amongst the tombs, "Come out of this man, thou unclean spirit." And he asked him, "What is thy name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Yes, our negative eyes are many, and the sensual mind is their home, for it is like a tomb to the inner spiritual man. Now, negative emotions harm us by many other methods also, as by darkening everything, like a octopus ejecting ink. And like the octopus or many-headed hydra of mythology, they seize hold of you, now on this side and now on the other, having many arms, fastening on every weak thing in your psychological makeup that you have not worked on or have not brought into the light of consciousness. When you hear the work saying that it is not by sex or power that governs the world, but negative emotions, perhaps you do not take this seriously. Possibly even when you are in a negative state, you do not see what is meant. This is partly because you do not see quite that you are in a negative state. You see, the state that you are in as a reasonable state under the circumstance, and not so negative. Here lies a difficulty, similar to the difficulty of seeing eyes in oneself, and one which we will equally resent. To feel you are right when you are negative, as one does so often in life, is to strengthen this state. In the work, however, it is necessary to see that one is wrong. Remember that we put ourselves under more laws in the work. At first, release comes later. This was from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, Volume 5, by Maurice Nicoll. I'm Roach, Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.